Hello, and welcome to the Best Online Career Online Training Program. The upcoming demo is pre recorded, so if you have any question or if you want to know more about career in SAP, feel free to comment below in comment section or visit our website. Our executives are always available to assist you. Let's head straight to the demo session now.
So let us begin our session over here, guys. Yeah, rather than wasting any more things on here and there, as we say in our IT language, rather than beating around the bushes, let's start our session. Okay. So first of all, let's talk about Ariba. Okay. So what is SAP Ariba over there? In plain and simple things. Okay. Why? Because you can see that if you want to learn something new over there, we will always focus on the basic things. And for basic things, you don't need technical jargon words, plain simple language. So with that 3 years ago, making all the participants understand what is a cloud solution was a tough thing. But right now, most of you will be aware over there. So cloud solution basically means, in a very simple way, you can say the client does not need to have any server where they will install the application. Application will be maintained by the service provider. In this case, bracket SAP Ariba itself. Very good. Now, let us understand a little bit on the history part of Ariba. Why? Because see, forget about SAP, forget about Ariba, forget about any other things. Let us focus on two basic things. And what are those basic things, guys? That if you want to predict the future, you need to have a look at the past over there. Okay? So have a look into these things. Ariba was a company which has been found in the year of 1996. It was not a SAP ecosystem, or it was not present in SAP ecosystem at that time. It was a separate company, okay, built on separate programming languages, separate database, separate everything in 1996. At that time, Ariba was basically selling on-premise solution. I think most of you know on-premise solution. That means client needs to have a server where they need to install the Ariba application. Then what happened? Then in 2010, Ariba launched its cloud solution because it was correctly able to predict that the future is in the cloud solution. Still, Ariba was not a SAP company. Now, in September 2012, SAP bought out Ariba. Why? Because they were also having their eyes on the cloud solution. So they want to build their portfolio in the cloud profiles over there. So Ariba was a perfect fit for them. Now, this thing every trainer will say, every consultant will say, but what conclusion can you take out of it? See, that is the thing. See, our training over here, we will not discover something new in Ariba. Same thing. But the conclusion from Ariba, that is where our specialty is. This information everybody will tell you, but what conclusion you can get? So basically, most of you who are coming back from the ERP background, SRM background, SAP background over there, so what he will say, Manoj, I am having very good exposure in I am having very good exposure in SRM, I having very good exposure in procurement system. Okay, now very good, very good knowledge you are having. Then you will think that whatever I have been doing in and SRM, same thing I will do it in Ariba. That is where you are wrong, because I also made the same mistake when I first started with SAP Ariba. Why? Because Ariba is not following the architecture of SAP. Because right now it's SAP Ariba. But Ariba, it was developed in 2010. At that time, it was not a SAP company. Its configuration, its screen, its processes, minute level processes, everything will be different from SAP. Keep this thing in your mind. So this is the first thing which we want to tell all of you in our session, that if you want to learn Ariba, we will say yes, procurement knowledge is required. Very good. But from a flow perspective, and that too at a high level. But if you want to learn Ariba properly, and if you want to have a successful career in Ariba, so you have to learn Ariba from the point of view of Ariba, not from the point of view of SRM or MM or SAP. So this is the first conclusion which all of you should have. Very good. Now, okay. Now, guys, again, you know, I think Eras also has maintained this particular point over there, and I want to, remind all of you on this point over here. That is, if you are having any questions or any queries in between, please do keep a notepad. You can just open up a notepad and you can type on it, or if you have a notebook with you, just write down your points. We will have a question answer session. We will have a question answer session, and we will not run away from it. Why? Because we love question. Whenever you are asking questions, then automatically we can understand that you are learning. Yes, for the first few session it will be here and there, but after that you will see your questions will be mostly pointed towards the main point, and we love answering the questions. So my earnest request to all of you guys, if you're having any query, please do write it down in your notepad or in a note copy or in a textbook or notebook specifically. Excuse me, guys. Now, another thing which you will notice over here is, in any procurement system there will be two types of user. One is called as the buyers, another is called as the suppliers. Who are buyers? Basically buyers are the internal employee of your buying organization, who will basically do what? They will basically order goods and services. Yes, that is not the only job, there are other job also, but I'm going into the major things. Why? Because you need to understand the concept over here. Supplier, who are supplier? Basically, supplier basically means they are external user who are going to have, or basically who are going to supply the goods and services to the purchasing organization, or you can say not purchasing organization, buying organization. Buying organization in this case is the client who is implementing Ariba. Now why I'm telling this thing? Because he will say, Manoj, we know this thing from a procurement perspective. Why I'm saying this thing? Because in Ariba there will be two user interface. One user interface will be used by the buyer, another user interface will be used by the supplier. The buyer interface is basically called as the Ariba buyer, and the supplier interface is basically called as the Ariba network. Both of them are two different URL. Ariba network is not used, basically supplier.ariba.com is not used by the buyer to log in. It can only be logged in by the supplier. Similarly, Ariba buyer URL will be used by the buyer to log in. Supplier cannot log in. Now from this point, again, everybody can say this point. Now what is the conclusion? What is the conclusion from this point? Enhanced security. This thing, no SAP product can basically come on this part. Why? Because if you look at SAP MM, if you look at SAP SRM, they are having a unified portal, or what's GUI? SAP GUI. How you're controlling the access? With the help of a role, right? Through the authorization object. Somebody makes a mistake, apart from giving the supplier role, they give the purchaser role. What will happen in production? That guy can see every internal document. But here, buyer will log in into Ariba buyer over there. Supplier cannot log in. So forget about any roles issue. Similarly, supplier will log in into Ariba network over there. No issue about the role. Again, the conclusion. Very important, guys. Now, very good. Now, what extra feature, Manoj, in Ariba network? Some extra feature? Then I will say yes, there are some extra features, guys. And what are those extra features? Right now, there are 3.4 million plus supplier available in Ariba network. It's the world's largest business to business network. It's not a small, feat achieving this world largest business to business network. Why? Imagine, imagine your client is coming to you, Fortune 500 client over here. Okay. And they are basically saying, Manoj, I am basically implementing ERP for the first time. And here I would like to implement SAP Ariba itself. Yes, I do have some offline supplier over there, but I want to begin a fresh vertical. So there basically I want to look for fresh supplier. So where I will look at it. If you ask this question to SAP, that means either ECC or from S4 HANA perspective, they will say, boss, you have to search for it. Yes, we do have a process for it, but ultimately at the end of the day, you have to go through the different option like internet search, postings everywhere else. Manually, you have to find it. But here, Ariba will say, boss, you don't need to go anywhere else. Go to Ariba network over there. 3.4 million suppliers available over there. You filter out the supplier based on the commodity code and the region. You want to onboard 10,000 new supplier, you will get it very easily over there. This is the power of the world's largest business to business network. It's a very simple point if you look at the third point, guys. But this is the conclusion which we can get over here. Okay. Now, the fourth point is obviously, this is from the last year. We are yet to update it. $1.5 trillion has been processed in invoices through the whole Ariba network. And I'm damn sure that this particular thing this year will be somewhere around 1.6 or 1.7. It was supposed to be somewhere around 2, but due to this coronavirus thing, what will happen is like it will be not so much of growth. But see, still it is increasing from 1.5 trillion to 1.7 trillion by the end of this year. Instead of 2 trillion, it will be around 1.7 trillion. So you can understand how much value Ariba is generating over here. And remember, Ariba's value does not come from Ariba buyer, but Ariba network. Now, when you will go for implementation, plain and simple, you will say, Manoj, very good. The first slide was very good. It was a information, very good information you have provided, but those are theoretical in nature. Yes, conclusion you have given, that's an added advantage. But most of you will say you come here to learn Ariba so that you can work in a project, not to have theoretical knowledge, not to have better conclusion. Correct? Exactly. Exactly. So that is why, guys, this I have not told at the beginning of the session that our sessions are practical in nature. Practical in nature means what? It's not theoretical. Everything what we have done in the project, we are going to see it over here. So that is why what I'm going to do is like, I'm just going to basically hit the escape button and open up a notepad. Because all of you are going to say to me, Manoj, if you are saying you are going to go through with the practical sessions, then your knowledge should come practically from the project itself, where what you've done in the project, you should be able to display the information without the help of a PPT. Exactly. And that is what we are going to do. So, guys, I want all of your attention over here right now. Why? Because this is pretty much important. You will understand it over here. Okay. Now, Ariba buyer. Ariba buyer will be used by whom? Ariba buyer will be used by the buyers to log in and do the work. Ariba network will be used by whom? By the suppliers. So when you will go for the project implementation, you have to think about mostly about this thing. Why? Because this guy are working for the client. Client in other term basically will be used as buying organization. Okay. This guy will basically hire us to implement Ariba, not the other way around. Okay. So basically, if you ask, okay, Manoj, what is Ariba bias or how the solutions are done from the Ariba buyer perspective, the answer is pretty simple, guys. And that is, let us begin over here with the solutioning part. Ariba solutions are generally divided into upstream and downstream. Now, I think most of you who have, you know, read a little bit on the Ariba part, you will be having some basic idea about upstream and downstream. Now, I don't want to disappoint any of you guys, but here again, as I said, no theoretical knowledge, only practical knowledge. So I'm not going to use upstream and downstream knowledge from the standard SAP books. From the project, let us discuss. Excuse me. So before going into upstream and downstream, any procurement, in any procurement, I'm not talking about system, I'm talking about the general business scenario. Whenever you will go, you will see your client will say, boss, we are interested in majorly two kinds of procurement. And they will basically say, new products and old products. Simple thing, they will, your client will say, Manoj, we are interested in procurement of new products, procurement of all old products. All of you will say, okay, Manoj, these are quite simple to understand. What does it signifies? Or what can we conclude from here? The conclusion is new product means what, guys? New product basically means the product information is not present within your system. That's the first thing. Second thing, you don't have the source of supply. That means you also don't know from which supplier you will buy at what price. This is the definition of new product from a business perspective. Again, not theoretical perspective. If you ask this question to your business end user, they will not end user, business users over there, they will basically give you this answer. Similarly, what is an old product? Old product means basically you buy that particular product, so you know from which supplier you will buy it at what price. So old product means they have the what? Source of supply. That's the difference. New product and old product. Very good. Then all of you are going to say, Manoj, why you're talking about new product and old product? Then I will tell to all of you guys, new product and old product is just for your simple understanding, guys. Actually, in Ariba, it does have a term. We do have a term for that. Non-catalog items. Basically, non-catalog item. I have used this new products. Why? Because in Ariba, there is no concept of new product. But to make all of you understand from a business perspective. But in Ariba, the technical term is non-catalog item. And old product basically means catalog items. Okay. So new product and old product, it's just for your understanding. The technical term is non-catalog item and catalog item. Now all of you will understand what is a non-catalog item and a catalog item. Why? Because we have made you understand this concept with very plain, simple language. Now all of you are going to say, very good, Manoj, but why these things are coming from the upstream and downstream part? So basically, in the upstream part, what we will do is like, we will do what? Basically, we will begin our procurement process for new products mainly again mainly, that means most of the time, but yes, there are certain exceptions. That means what? New products means what? That's it. If somebody comes to you and ask, boss, what is upstream solution, what is downstream solution? Downstream solution is, it's a procurement process for non-catalog items mainly. Upstream. Downstream means it's a procurement process for all product, that means catalog items mainly. This is the difference. And I'm betting on, to all of you guys, if you go to any SAP standard press book, if you go to any SAP standard guides over there, you will never find this particular logic. But if you go to the project over there, you will find out that the meaning of this upstream and downstream solution is exactly this. So this is the meaning of upstream versus downstream solution, guys. Now, very good. We have understood the upstream and downstream solution basically. But what are the modules which are present in upstream and what are the modules which are present in downstream? So in upstream, basically we have basically the sourcing project. That is the first, you can say, or basically you can say first module of upstream, not project, sourcing. Okay. Now within sourcing, if you ask me, Manoj, what is sourcing? And I will say basically, boss, in very simple term, it is tender. Tender means what? That means if you want to buy something new over there, you don't have any information about the product. What you're going to do, you're going to say, boss, to all the supplier, I want to buy this. Tell me how much money you will take. Just like you go to your market, right? You want to buy a new smartphone over there. What you will do? You will go to some 2, 3 shopkeeper and you will basically ask, boss, I want to buy this particular product over there. Exactly. And they will basically say, okay, Manoj, for this particular product, I'm going to charge you 30,000 INR. Another guy will say 29,000 INR. Another guy will say 28,000 INR. Immediately I will say, okay, the same product, three of the supplier, one supplier is giving 27, another is giving 28, another is giving 30,000. So 20,000, 27,000, which was the cost, I will buy from that particular supplier. Why? Because the same product. So what is it? This is nothing but your sourcing process in very plain and simple language. Yes, very high end, guys. But when you will come to the sourcing section in detail, you will see there are lot of complexity. Why? Because the business process will branch out over there. Branching will happen because of the complexity of the client's business process. So you can have basically three processes over here: RFI, RFP, and auction. Now, if you ask me over here, Manoj, what do you mean by RFI? RFI is basically nothing but request for information. Now, what do you mean by request for information? We will come to that. What does RFP stands for? Request for proposal. And auction is, I think, auction. Everybody knows that. Now, what's the difference between RFI and RFP? All of you are going to jump up and say, Manoj, RFI means whenever I want to take the technical specs of the product, I will use RFI. RFP means whenever I want to take cost. I don't want to go into too much details. Why? Because if I go into the details, sourcing is a detailed session, guys. But on a basic level, guys, it is wrong. Why? Because sourcing falls under the upstream process, and upstream process, as I said, it is for the new products mainly. So new product means how you will understand which particular new products to go for RFI, which particular new products you want to go with RFP. Now you are understanding why I'm saying that each and everything, the process, the flow, you have to be very, very careful. Same thing which you have learned in ECC or SRM over there, if you try to apply over here, it will fail. The answer is pretty simple, guys. The answer is, you want to buy a smartphone. You will say, Manoj, will I go for RFI or will I go for RFP? Which one, Manoj? Then I'm going to ask you a simple question. Boss, you know what is a smartphone? Then you will say, okay, yes, I know, Manoj, what is a smartphone. Okay, how will you decide that this smartphone is better than another smartphone? Then you will say, Manoj, that I don't know. So if your answer is no, then you should go for RFI. And if your answer is yes, I can differentiate between one smartphone and another smartphone, then you can say you will go with for RFP. Means what? Basically, you are having the product knowledge. You understand the product, so that is why you can differentiate. If you are having that knowledge, go for RFP. If you are not having that knowledge, go for RFI. Because in RFI, you will gather that knowledge. Okay, very good. Manoj, we understood where to go with RFI, where to go with RFP. Not in detail, but in a basic way. But when to go for auction? Now here, lot of participant ask me, lot of Ariba consultant ask me, Manoj, my client is asking to implement auction. And I will say, okay, but I have really seen clients going for auctions. Why? Because this is where you will understand one more point over here, guys, that auction means that after doing RFP, always you are not going to create an auction. Because lot of Ariba consultant think, okay, RFI first, then RFP, then auction. Again, wrong. I will give you an example. You want to buy a smartphone, as I've given the first example, 30,000, 28,000, 27,000. Which one you want to buy? 27,000. Very good. Now 27,000 you want to pay. Why you want to go for an auction once more? Then again I will go back to a scenario. Different phone, same price, 30,000, 28,000, 27,000. But you are saying, boss, my budget is around 25,000 INR. It's not more than 25,000 INR. Then what will happen? The the shopkeeper will say, boss, 27,000 is my last quote. I cannot give it. But if you can call all these three shopkeeper at one place, and you will say, boss, yes, my price is a little bit flexible. I don't want to pay 25,000 only. A little bit more also I can pay. But among you, who is going to give me the lowest quotation, I'm going to buy from you. Yes, you have provided 30,000, you have provided 28,000, 28,000, and the third supplier has provided 27,000. But I want you to further lower down the prices. Now the guy who was saying to you 30,000, he notices, oh, this guy wants to buy a smartphone. Tomorrow he will buy a laptop. Next day he will buy a desktop. So that guy will say, okay, Manoj, 26,000. Other supplier is saying, no, boss, I'm not going to reduce the price further. So immediately the supplier one, when that supplier one is saying to you 26,000 is the price, you will be taking that particular smartphone from that supplier one. This is the case of auction. In plain and simple language, if you want to put it, if all the suppliers quotation where in your RFP is not matching your expected price, or basically there is a huge difference between your expected price and the supplier's quotation, then only you will go for auction, else you will never go for auction. That's the differentiating factor. Why I am saying all these things? Because in your project your client will say these are the different scenarios, now you do the configuration. If you don't know about this thing, what will you do? You will think, oh, RFI, then RFP, then auction. Then what will happen when the client will do the testing? They will point out these things, that this guy has not understood my business scenario at all. Keep this thing in your mind, guys. Now, once you've done the sourcing, very good. What next? The next point will be contracting. Now, contract, I think everybody will understand. Oh, contract means it's a legal document. Exactly. Legal document where you will have basically the terms and conditions and what? The pricing information, the line item information, the product information, all those things, supply information, all those things. Very good. But another thing I want to point out over here, guys, lot of Ariba consultant are still living in obsolete technology, and that obsolete technology is DFS. They will say, Manoj, I have done desktop file syncing, and through this desktop file syncing, what will happen? They have basically worked on the contract. They have done the configuration in contract with the help of DFS. Now, if you go to any implementation project, you will see DFS is not being used. Why? Because it has been obsoleted in 2017. Generally, most of the trainer, most of the Ariba consultant, they will never talk about this thing. But in our sessions, both the process flow as well as the configuration will be based on ECA. Excuse me, guys. ECA stands for Enhanced Contract Authoring. Now, this is the most latest version over here for contract authoring over there. And if you go for a implementation, you have to work in ECA. Now, why I'm saying this thing? Remember, both the process flow for doing the contract management, that's the first thing. And the second thing is what? And the second thing is the template configuration. Both are done based on whether it's a DFS or ECA. Now, why I'm saying this thing? Because the template which is, compatible with DFS, okay, those particular template will never work for ECA. So if you have learned the whole contract management and if you've done the configuration based on desktop file syncing, it will not work with enhanced contract authoring. That means you will go to your project and you will be dumb stuck. The process is different and the configuration what you have done is totally zero. So that is why both of the things in our session, basically we follow the ECA, enhanced contract authoring. Now, the third point, that is basically SLP. What does SLP stand for? Supply Lifecycle and Performance Management. Plain and simple. Onboarding supplier. Now, all of you say, Manoj, onboarding supplier should be the first activity which we should do. And I will say wrong, guys. Why? Because supplier will play a very important and major role in your integration. So that is why SLP and integration are crisscrossed with each other. That is why even though it is present within the upstream, we basically will cover the SLP within the integration session. Why? Because you will understand how the supplier integration will be changing your whole integration scenarios. Okay, okay, Manoj, we understood this basic thing. But how we will be onboarding the supply in Ariba? So for onboarding the supply in Ariba, you will have to do these three process: supply request, supplier registration, and supplier qualification. Very good, very good, Manoj. But why three? Why not one? Because in SRM we have done registration of supply. In ERP also we are having one process. But why three process over here? Why three process over here? Now that's a very good question. The answer over here is, guys, supplier will log in to where? In Ariba network. Now in Ariba network, you're having 3.4 million supplier present over there. Now let us say I want to send a sourcing project or basically an RFI to a particular supplier, ABC supplier. How Ariba network will understand that, boss, to ABC supplier only this RFP should be visible, not for the other suppliers? That's a very good question. So that is where the concept of ANID will come into the picture. So each supplier, whenever they will create their credentials and login ID in Ariba network over there, they will be assigned a unique ANID. Through that ANID, Ariba network will understand, oh boss, this is ABC supplier. Oh boss, this is GEF supplier. This is something like GHI supplier. Okay, keep this thing in your mind. So the process is not so simple over here. Just like calling the supplier, boss, come on board, and we will work on each and everything over there. Very easy. No, it's not an easy thing, guys. Okay, keep this thing in your mind. Very, very important point over here. Now, what other things is present over here? So in supply request, we will capture some basic information about the supplier email, just like a KYC form, right? Know your customer, email ID, phone, address, name, all those things. But in supplier registration, basically, we will ask the supplier, boss, create your credential in Ariba network. So once the supplier creates the credential in Ariba network, what will happen is like automatically the ANID will also be synced into the Ariba buyer within the supplier profile. So through that ANID, Ariba will understand, okay, Manoj is talking about ABC supplier. Ariba will say ABC supplier means this ANID. That means this is the ABC supplier. Okay. Supplier qualification is also important. Why? Because of another thing. Because all of you were understanding upstream and downstream are two different solutions. Very easy, Manoj. Very, very easy. Wrong, guys. Upstreams are not only solution. They are having separate database. Okay. So upstream will have its own separate database, downstream will have its own separate database. So till the supplier registration, what is happening is like your supplier is getting created in upstream. Once the supplier qualification has been done, then the supplier will be created back in your downstream module, or basically you can say downstream solutions. Okay, keep this thing in your mind. Very good. Now all of you are going to say, okay, Manoj, basically we have onboarded a new supplier, basically we have done the sourcing project, we have done the contract. Very good. My question to all of you guys, you know, it's up to you guys whether you want to participate or not. You can use the participation by just looking into the go to training app. At the end, you will see there is a small chat box. There you can basically type your views and you can just click on send. My question to all of you guys is, once you have published a contract, how you are going to take the delivery against the contract? Any guess? You can share your views, guys, to the chat box, because I would be able to see your views. You can just type anything and you can just click on send. So once you publish the contract, my question, very simple, simple thing is what? How you are going to take the delivery against the contract? Now that's a very good, very good answer, guys. Purchase order. Exactly, purchase order. But where is the purchase order? Purchase order is part of your P2P process, correct? And P2P process is present where? In your downstream solutions. And as I told all of you guys, upstream and downstream is having separate database. Now, how your contract data will move to downstream? That is a challenging part. So this is where your contract compliance module will come into the picture. Lot of people will say it's a part of upstream. Lot of people will say it's a part of your downstream. Actually, it's comprised of both upstream and downstream. The main work of contract compliance is it acts as a bridge between upstream plus downstream. Okay, keep this thing in your mind. But apart from that also, remember only contract can be moved. Why? Because all of you are going to then ask me next, hey Manoj, we can move anything over here. No, only contract can be moved. Okay, very good. So through this contract compliance, this contract will move from upstream to downstream. Now remember guys, once you are moving this contract from upstream to downstream, this contract would be available within your downstream. Okay, exactly. Now, downstream basically means P2P process. And if I ask all of you guys, what do you mean by P2P process over here? All of you are going to jump up and say, Manoj, we know this thing. This is our, bread and butter. Or in Hindi, we will say, rosy roti over there. Exactly correct. Basically, purchase requisition. You will create a purchase requisition, then you will submit the purchase requisition. It will go for approval. Once it is approved, what will happen? PO will get created. Where? Once again in Ariba buyer. Now this PO will be replicated to the supplier in Ariba network. Once that particular thing happens, what will happen? The supplier will basically say, okay, very good, Manoj. We will do PO acknowledgement in Ariba network. Same thing, ASN, advanced shipping notice. If you are from ECC, notification. Okay, advanced shipping notification. Now both of these two things will be created by whom? It will be created by the supplier in Ariba network, and it will be copied into Ariba buyer. Very good. Against the, from the buyer point of view, what they will do, they will do the GR. Actually, GR is not the correct term over here, guys. Why? Because the correct term is receiving in Ariba. Receiving means almost you can say GR. Now once this has been done, basically supplier will create the invoice. Am I correct, guys? Supplier will create the invoice in Ariba network, or am I wrong, guys? Exactly. All of you are going to say, yes, correct, Manoj. It will be created by the supplier in Ariba network only. Yes, all of you are saying. And I will say to all of you guys, have a look in your chat box. Have you seen these three words anywhere else? In the chat box, guys. I've typed it. ERS, evaluated receipt settlement. If it is a ERS supplier, do you think the supplier will create the invoice manually in Ariba network? Never, never. It will be created automatically. That is where, guys, see, every trainer or every Ariba consultant, they will come and say invoice will be created by the supplier. See, I could have said a lot of things about all of this particular process, but we know those things we are going to see in our detailed session. But just to bring back all of your attention in our session, I'm just asking on this point invoice. One of the most common mistake most of the Ariba consultant makes is invoice will happen from Ariba network. It will be created by the supplier manually. No, for ERS supply, it will be created automatically. And for big organization, that means big client. Let's say you're going for a big client like Procter and Gamble, Unilever, Coke, Pepsi. For this particular organizations, if you're going to do the implementation, you will see majority of the supplier is ERS enabled. And they will say, boss, what are you saying? Invoice will be created by supplier. Only 10% of the supplier will create it. 90% they will not create. It will be created automatically in Ariba buyer. Then all of you will be scratching your head. What is happening over there? But you know about the ERS things. It will not come into the moment at that particular point of time, guys. Keep this thing in your mind. Now, after doing the invoice, I think everybody knows what is the next step. Invoice reconciliation. Exactly. Two-way match, three-way match. All of these things will happen over here. Very good. After that, what? Plain and simple payment to the supplier. Now, all of you are going to say, yes, Manoj, this is the P2P process we are talking about. In basic or from a very high level, I'm not going into the details thing because those things we will be going into individual sessions. But have any of you guys heard about this term, guys? See, I have highlighted it almost at the end of the notepad on the left hand side. Have any of you heard about it or seen these particular three words, S2P? Because if you go to your the job profiles in Ariba over there, you will see most of the client, most means more than 90% of the client will say S2P knowledge is mandatory. Exactly correct. Source to pay. Source to pay. S2P basically means what? Source to pay. They will immediately say source to pay knowledge is mandatory. Why? Because in your Ariba implementation, S2P will always happen, irrespective of the client, irrespective of the project. More than 90% of the client. 10% of the client, why I'm not including, because they have already done implementation, they are on the support. Now, how you're going to differentiate between an H2P and P2P? Same thing also we will do over here in downstream for them. But the difference is pretty simple. The difference over here is the PR will be created from where? From the contract. Now this contract came over here into downstream. How, guys? If I ask this particular question, you can take a guess, all of you. Can you please take a guess? Exactly correct. Through the contract compliance. Through the contract compliance, the contract has moved into downstream. And now we are using the contract to create a PR, and this whole process is called as H2P. And that is our main goal, guys. 90% of the project goes into H2P. Then all of you are going to say, Manoj, then what about P2P? So in the case of P2P, it will be basically a non-contract item. From there only, you will basically create the PR. And here it will be contract items. That's the difference between P2P and S2P. If anybody asks you this question in the interview, what is the difference between procure to pay and source to pay? Uh, People will come up with a, just like in class 8 exam or class 10 exam, with a pen and paper, and they will say disadvantage and that's, advantage. This can be done, this cannot be done. No, the only difference thing in S2P and P2P is P2P will be for non-contract item, S2P will be for contract item. Plain and simple. Immediately your interviewer will know that you have worked in a project, or basically you are having the attitude to work in a project. That is why it's important, guys, to distinguish the different processes. Of course, now then you will say, Manoj, what about integration? Because whenever I will say integration, all of you are going to jump up. Okay, it's a very good thing, Manoj. Integration is the major thing over here. Okay, what configuration we are going to have a look at it. Then I will say, boss, to all of you, you're building your own home. Integration means you're building your home in a modular way. Are you going to ask the first question over here? Okay, where I will put my you know basically my 43-inch 4K resolution TV, or where I will put my hi-fi DTS enabled sound system, or whether you're going to ask this question that how I am going to build up the whole base. Okay, I want to basically construct a two-floor building for my home, but in future I should be given an option to add two more feet, floor. That means in total four floor should be present. So whenever you're preparing the base, There only you will understand each and everything. Similarly, whenever you're going for integration, lot of Ariba consultant, lot of Ariba trainer will come and say, Manoj, show us the configuration. Then I will say, configuration is the last thing, guys. What are you doing? You're basically integrating your Ariba system with either ERP. ERP means basically I'm talking about ECC or S4 HANA, either or. Okay. So first thing first is you need to decide how your process will work, how your integration scenario will work. If you're trying to implement S2P over there, which particular transactional, see these are all transactions, right? PR, PO acknowledgement, ASN receiving invoice, these are all transactions. Which transaction will happen in ERP? Which transaction is going to happen in Ariba? This thing, if you don't know, configuration, if I show to all of you, nothing will work. So that is why in our integration, you will see the first thing which we will focus on is like how to build the integration scenario. There can be multiple scenarios. Upstream solutions scenario is only there. Downstream solution scenario is only there. Then upstream plus downstream solutions scenario is also present over there. Within that, P2P will be present. Within that, S2P will be present. All these things, yes, all of you might say to me, Manoj, you are scaring us. And I'm saying, no, guys, I'm not scaring you. I'm saying you that you don't know this thing, but once you understand this thing, you will never make a mistake in integration. Just like whenever you're building your home, if you're able to construct your base properly, after that, whether it's a 4th floor building or a 40-floor building, it does not matter. Same thing in our integration. The first, you will see the spearhead for the integration, which we are going to attack first is designing what? Integration scenario. That is our main focus. Once you've understood this thing, then basically we will talk about the configs. Now within the configs, all of you are going to say which one, CI9 or CIG. Manoj, both are important. We are going to cover both CIG as well as CI9. Basically, I will say this terminology is very good. Batman versus Superman. So CIG versus CI9. Why? Because you will see against all conventional wisdom, CIG and CI9 over here can coexist peacefully. Most of the Ariba consultant will say CIG is the future. Yes, I will also agree with all of you guys. But as of now, there are certain applications of CI9, certain application of CIG where it is optimally it can be used. So the same thing also we are going to see in our config also. CI9 as well as CIG. Cloud Integration Gateway, Cloud Integration Adapter 9. Now, some of you are going to say, okay, very good. What about reporting, Manoj? Yes, we are also going to see reporting, guys. Why? Because this is another pain point for all the Ariba consultant. Because whenever I will go into the project, every Ariba consultant will come running towards me, and specifically at least one Ariba consultant, because in any project, 3 to 4 Ariba consultant will work. And the most suffered Ariba consultant will be the consultant who is working on reporting. That guy will come to me and say, Manoj, my life is hell. And I will say, why? What I'm doing is like e- every day or every day in a, or basically almost 3 days or 4 days in a week. Basically, just a moment, guys, just a moment. Apologies, guys. Yeah, you know, yeah, just receive a call over there. Yeah, okay. Let us continue on the reporting part. And now this particular guy will be suffering over there in reporting, and that guy will say to me, Manoj, my life is hell. And I will say, why? What I'm doing is like I'm running the program for almost like 3 to 4 hours. Why? Because in production, if you run a program in foreground, it will take 3 to 4 hours, and I cannot go up or get up from my seat and go. Why? Because in Ariba, basically the session log off will happen after 10 minutes of inactivity. And since that particular loading time for the report is 3 to 4 hours, they have to sit on that place. And I said, okay, very good. Then what? Then basically I will download the standard report in Excel file. And I say, okay. Then basically the client's higher management will come and say, Manoj, there are some 4 or 5 fields present over there, which are custom fields. And I will say, okay, they are having custom formula. And then I will say, okay, those things cannot be done in Ariba. Why? Because Ariba is an on cloud solution. If you want to change any source code things, you have to raise an enhancement request. So how many times I have to create an enhancement request? Every time when I'm running the program, I have to create an enhancement request. And then I will say to that particular guy, who told you this thing? And then they will say, Manoj, this is how the project happens over there. Then I will say, I think you have been doing this project wrongly. Why? Because as a Ariba functional consultant, we don't need an enhancement request for doing this activity. Why? Because as a Ariba functional consultant, we have got the rights and basically, what you can say, authorization to do what? To basically configure those custom fields and those custom formulas, and to schedule this report to run in the background and generate the report. So basically, not only I will show you about the reporting functionality in Ariba, but I will also show you how to automate it totally, how to configure it totally. Excuse me, including custom field and custom calculation also, and custom formula also over there. Very few people know about this thing. So basically, you can say, boss, during the support phase, no Ariba consultant will be sitting and doing this manual activity at all. Everything will be automated until unless client changes the requirement. That configuration you have to do it once more. Again, everything will be automated after that. Okay. Then all of you are also going to say, okay, very good, Manoj, integration reporting, this, that, very good. What are the configurations? Now, as you know, in upstream, basically, everything is based on the template. So we are going to see the template config over here. In downstream, we are going to see the workflow config or approval process, including the approval lookup table. Similarly, we are also going to see how the catalogs loading happen and how basically the catalog config will be done. Now, some of you might say, Manoj, why there is no workflow config in Ariba? Because the workflow config in upstream part is present within the template as a part of your task activity. So that is why everything will be done at a template level. So these are the things, guys. All of these particular things, we have basically picked up this particular knowledge from the project. From the project only, from a project perspective only, we are going to see and do our activity, whether it's a process flow, whether it's a configuration. Everything will be done from a project perspective, from a practical perspective. That is why you will see the difference. You have already seen the difference in today's session. We don't brag about at the beginning of the session saying, we will do this thing practically, we will do this, that thing practically. But this is how we will teach. Why? Because at the end of the day, all of you are coming for this session for doing what? Just to gain knowledge? No. because all of you are here to grow in your career. When you can grow in your career, when you will go into a project over there, when you will start working on the projects, that is where your proper practical knowledge will be tested. And that is what we are doing in our sessions, guys. And for very long, as Eras pointed out, for the last 3 years. Okay. So please don't think like this is a kind of training. You can think of it like this is a mentoring, because we are actually sharing our work experience, okay, with all of you guys over here. Yeah. So Eraj, I think we have shown the content over here for our Ariba demo session, but excuse me. But before
Yes,
we
Manoj.
go, yeah, but before we go ahead with the question answer session over here, excuse me, I think it would be much better, Eras, that if you show basically the participant that apart from the sessions, yes, sessions are the most important thing, but we are also giving them a hell lot of supporting documents and all those things which will also enable them
Yes, Manoj.
for for the theoretical knowledge or for certifications for everything also. So I
Mhm.
think that would be much better if if you show this particular thing to the all the participants over here.
Absolutely correct, Manoj. Yeah, sure, no problem.
I hope this session was helpful to you. The best online career also deals with other SAP modules. Not only the training part, but also we are here to guide you to choose your right module for your career. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.